I promised myself I'd stay professional, but your intensity is so raw, it dismantles every rule I memorized just to survive this job. I walked in with boundaries, credentials, and discipline. Then you spoke, and suddenly professionalism felt like a fragile costume I was pretending fit. I trained myself to observe without feeling, but your presence turns observation into exposure, and I'm no longer protected by titles. I keep telling myself to stay composed, yet every glance from you feels like a challenge to everything I swore I'd never cross. I've handled pressure, chaos, and power before, but your intensity isn't loud, it's precise, and that's what unravels me. I thought professionalism meant control, but standing near you proves it's just fear dressed up as discipline. I came prepared to be untouchable, but your energy ignores preparation and goes straight for the truth I hide behind manners. I keep repeating the rules in my head, but none of them explain why my focus collapses when you enter the room. I've mastered restraint, yet your intensity exposes how thin that mastery really is when something real shows up. I promised myself I wouldn't care, but you make indifference feel like the most dishonest role I've ever played. I've been professional my whole life, and somehow you make that history feel like a long avoidance strategy. I'm supposed to analyze, not react, but your intensity doesn't wait for permission. It demands honesty. I stay calm on the outside, yet inside, I'm renegotiating every value I once thought was non negotiable. I thought professionalism would protect me, but your presence proves it was only ever a delay tactic. I've dealt with brilliance before, but yours doesn't impress. It confronts, and I'm not as armored as I pretend. I tell myself this is just another interaction, yet nothing about you behaves like just another anything. I built my reputation on restraint, but your intensity turns restraint into a quiet form of surrender. I'm supposed to be in control here, yet your silence alone disrupts my internal balance. I didn't expect to feel seen in a place designed for professionalism, but you dismantle environments without effort. I keep my voice steady while my thoughts are anything but. Because your intensity doesn't ask, it reveals. I once believed professionalism meant clarity, but you introduce a depth that clarity refuses to explain. I can maintain posture, tone, and distance, yet none of that protects me from the weight of your presence. I promised myself I'd never blur lines, but you don't blur them. You expose why they were drawn. I've spent years being unshakable, and you arrive and make shaking feel inevitable. I know exactly how I should act, which only makes it worse that none of it feels honest anymore. I call this discipline, but deep down, I know it's fear of admitting what your intensity awakens. I thought I understood composure until you showed me how fragile it becomes around authenticity. I stand here professional in every visible way, while internally negotiating a truth I didn't plan to face. I didn't expect one person to make my training feel obsolete, yet here you are, undoing it quietly. I keep reminding myself this is temporary, but the shift you cause feels permanent. I've seen confidence, ambition, and power, but your intensity is something else entirely. It's undeniable. I maintain distance because proximity to you feels like losing the last excuse I have. I once trusted systems and roles, but you operate outside them, and that's what destabilizes me. I can explain everything on paper, yet none of my explanations survive your presence. I promised myself professionalism would be enough, but you prove that some things demand more than control. I stay measured, careful, and correct, while your intensity remains effortless and disruptive. I thought emotional neutrality was strength until you made it feel like avoidance. I hold my ground externally, but internally, I'm questioning why I ever thought distance was safety. I didn't expect intensity to feel this intelligent, this quiet, this unavoidable. I keep things formal because anything real feels dangerously close to honesty. I tell myself I'm immune, yet your presence feels like a direct contradiction to that belief. I've navigated complex dynamics before, but none of them stripped me this clean of pretense. I stay professional because it's the last structure standing between me and truth. I never planned for intensity to feel this personal, this precise, this disarming. I act composed because admitting the impact you have would collapse the entire framework. I've learned how to manage people, but you're not manageable. You're revealing. I remind myself of the rules, yet your intensity makes them feel like excuses.